Hello, I'm James Willis, SAU's University Historian. Welcome to SAU, and congratulations on joining the SAU family as a faculty and staff member. Briefly and informally, I'd like to tell you something about the history and values of our institution, and in the process, take you on a brief tour, both of the present campus and of the past campus. Come along. I like to think that the Mule Rider name is more than a unique name. Although it is that, SAU is the only university in the world whose official mascot and symbol is a mule rider. The mule currently is Molly B. In recent years, Molly B has been ridden by a succession of young co-eds who serve as the mule rider and take the animal to football games and other events. The mule rider name is not only associated with an athletic tradition, it's also a living reminder of the origins of the institution and of the values that the faculty, staff, and students created and forged during its first century. The Mule Rider name was selected by the football team in November 1912. An unusual formulation, it was originally two names, Mule Riders, like that of Rough Riders. It probably was inspired by that name of these cowboy heroes that Theodore Roosevelt led during the 1898 Spanish-American War. The Mule Rider logo shows a Western-style rider on a bucking mule and is commemorated by Jason Scull's statue that is showcased in the Rental Center. Almost everyone who comes to the Rental Center each day passes by the Mule Rider. The name may also have been selected because football players on a few occasions were said to have ridden mules to catch the Cotton Belt train at McNeil, 5 miles north of the campus, to travel to away games. During SAU's 2009 centennial celebrations, the great SAU Mule Ride retraced the original Mule Rider's route to McNeil. The Mule Rider name also paid tribute to the poor farm families of the South who had to use this work animal not only for plowing but also for transportation. Those who could afford to rode horses. Those who could not had to ride mules. The school's first students lived in so-called dog trot houses, like the Osmer House, located on the northeast edge of campus. The Osmer House has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places. Southern Arkansas University was founded in 1909 as a residential agricultural high school. As a reform measure of the Progressive era, the school's purpose was to serve young men and women from rural southwest Arkansas who had no means of education beyond the primary grades of one-room schools. Advocated by President Theodore Roosevelt and promoted by the Farmers Educational and Cooperative Union, agricultural high schools were established by a number of state legislatures, especially in the South. In Arkansas, Governor George W. Donaghy and legislators approved Act 100 on April 1, 1909, creating 4 district agricultural schools. Today, SAU celebrates this date each year as Founders Day. The 2009 centennial celebration of Founders Day was an especially large and memorable event. Everywhere on campus, you'll see the school colors, the blue and the gold. These were the colors of the Farmers Union, which lobbied the legislature to pass Act 100 in 1909, establishing the school. Local communities competed to raise funds to get the original TDAS located in their town. The effort in Magnolia was led by William R. Cross. The original buildings were erected between 1910 and 1914. Classes first began in January 1911. The center of the campus was Old Main, where I'm now standing. It stood atop a hill the students named Aggie Hill, where Harton Theater and Overstreet Hall now stand. Old Main was torn down in 1975 to make room for this magnificent open mall stretching from Harton Theater to McGale Library and the Rental Center, flanked on the east side by the Bruce Center and on the west side by the Brinson Art Building. The oldest school buildings still standing on campus today are at the south end of the mall. Cross Hall on the southwest, named for Mr. Cross, and Nelson Hall on the southeast, named for the Dean of Women in the 1920s and 1930s. These buildings were products of New Deal funding, built by the Works Progress Administration in 1936. Although both have been slightly remodeled, they have been placed on the National Register of Historic Places. From the beginning, the school served students of limited means. Male students had to work on the campus farm and female students in the cafeteria helping Mrs. Cairo Bussey. Many students coming from the one-room schools were ill-prepared, and they faced other difficulties. A long-standing tradition began in 1911 of faculty and staff making extraordinary efforts to help struggling students to remain in school and to succeed. This tradition continues today. I think it is the heart of what it means to become a faculty or staff mule rider. The first example of a student receiving extraordinary help occurred during TDAS's first semester when school opened in the spring of 1911. That student was Marvin Tom Williams, who's featured in one of the photos that graces the halls of the Rental Center. And he wrote a memoir that recorded the special help that he received from Hanan Hotzclaw, who is kneeling here at the right. He was an agricultural teacher at TDAS, and Hotzclaw and his wife, Georgina, went to great lengths to assist Williams to remain in school and to succeed. Let me read you a portion of Marvin Williams' unpublished memoir in which he records their help. They took me in and treated me as though I was a member of their family. The kindness and consideration given me cannot be told. Our relationship became a spiritual attachment that cannot be told but must be felt. They would have me at their home for meals and long talks about my life. They went out of their way to brighten my outlook on life and to give me cultural training I needed so badly. When Williams could not afford to remain at school, the Hotzclaws took him in to their own home, and he related another great experience where I learned the table manners and had other rough spots rubbed off. On another occasion, when Williams wanted to leave school for a good paying job, Hotzclaw refused him a loan. Williams declared, "He handled this refusal in such a way that I never felt hurt about it, but knew he was doing what he thought was best for me. I have been thankful for many years that I took his advice to take a campus job and remain in school." Williams subsequently became a county agricultural agent and later a long-serving state senator in Mississippi. Ever since 1911, year after year, there have been many professors and staff members like the Hotzclaws. More often than not, their caring acts and support of students have remained unknown until revealed long afterward by alumni. TDS offered junior college courses for the first time in 1923 and was renamed State Agricultural and Mechanical College, 3rd District in 1925. It was more widely known as Magnolia A&M College. The institution soon had a more collegiate atmosphere with a student newspaper, The Bray, a concert band, theater productions, French and Spanish foreign language clubs, a National Guard company and a new armory building, and a teacher training school on the campus. Pep squads and the Mule Rider cheered football teams of that era that repeatedly won conference titles. Magnolia A&M celebrated its new status as a junior college with May Day ceremonies like those held at the time on many campuses across the country. The May Day ceremonies were repeated each year up to the Second World War. At Magnolia A&M, May Day celebrations had a unique twist. The ceremony of crowning a May Queen and King with merry maids wrapping the maypole was held at the Lone Pine Tree. Students used this tree as their trysting place. Such was its name in the 1930 yearbook. Of all the trees planted on the front lawn of the school in the early days, only one lone pine tree survived. I'm standing here amongst the children of the lone pine tree. Students believed that love, declared under that tree's branches, would survive all difficulties, as the tree itself had. For 4 decades, couples like Carl Wallace and Ona Price in 1925 met there to become engaged. Unfortunately, unusually strong storm winds blew the tree down in 1956. Another long-standing tradition at SAU is that of faculty inspiring students to extraordinary achievement, both in and out of the classroom. Among many examples from the A&M era, one stands out. It was the result of Professor Sam Dickinson's extraordinary influence on his students, the Greek theater. Dickinson's lectures on ancient history during the spring of 1936 inspired his students to decide they would stage the Greek drama Antigone by Sophocles as a capstone to their course. These history students persuaded other members of the 1936 graduating class to let them use class funds raised even in the midst of the Great Depression, for a memorial gift to the campus, another tradition of the times. Dickinson students used the $200 to buy materials. Then, helped by students in a manual arts class, Dickinson students built the stage and columns of the Greek theater. On May 14, 1936, during graduation week, they presented the Greek drama on the newly built stage to fellow students, returning alumni, parents, and other visitors. Names of the members of the 1936 class were inscribed on the stage floor of the Greek theater. Despite the difficulties of the Great Depression and the Second World War, the campus continued to make progress. New facilities, built with the help of New Deal programs, were erected, including 2 new residence halls, Cross and Nelson Halls, and a new administration classroom building, Overstreet Hall. It was later named for Charles A. Overstreet, who headed the school from 1921 to 1945. He preserved the school through very difficult years so that after the war it could become a 4-year college. That change happened in 1949 when Overstreet's successor, Colonel Charles Wilkins, and the Board of Trustees moved to add junior and senior level courses and the new bachelor's degree. The Arkansas legislature recognized the change by approving a new name, Southern State College, in 1951. At Southern State College over the next 3 decades, 2 new presidents, Dr. Dolph Camp and Dr. Iman Bruce, both TDAS alumni, built a new campus. New buildings appeared everywhere, especially during the 1960s, as Dr. Bruce worked hard to keep up with an exploding enrollment, fueled by the post-war baby boom students. New fine arts and athletic facilities, new residence halls, new library and classrooms were added, as well as many new degree programs. Faculty and staff in this era did not invent a new tradition, but, like their predecessors, continued to challenge students to seek excellence in every aspect of life and to dream large. Students were encouraged to believe that coming from a small town and a rural atmosphere was not a barrier to competing successfully with graduates of far more prestigious educational institutions. Numerous alumni went on to remarkable successes in graduate law and medical schools and in business and professional careers. It's no accident that SSC alumni from this era are to be found among the nation's many leaders, ranging from Leland Tollett, a recently retired CEO of Tyson's, world's largest meat products company, to Tommy Tuberville, notable NCAA Division I football coach at Auburn and other universities, to Harry Thomason, famous Hollywood producer and director of such television series hits as Designing Women. The college itself reached for higher achievement when in 1976 it got a new name and became a university, Southern Arkansas University. 3 successive SAU presidents, Dr. Harold Brinson, Dr. Stephen Gamble, and Dr. David Rankin, led the institution through the remaining decades of its first 100 years. Under Dr. Rankin's leadership in particular, after 2002, the university undertook a growth in facilities and academic opportunities, including numerous new master's degree programs, unequaled since the 1960s, and an expansion of university-owned land unequaled since 1910. Faculty, staff, and students successfully met challenge after challenge to transform the new curriculum. And new traditions appeared, like the annual bed race and the celebration of lights at Christmas, including lighting the bell tower as a huge candle that invited the community of Magnolia to share the holiday season. More than ever, faculty and staff have embraced the tradition of diversity. The first African-American undergraduate to enroll at the institution was Wilmer Moss in 1955. True integration, however, occurred only after the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Over time, white, black, and other minority students, faculty, and staff found their common brother and sisterhood in studying, working, playing, and living together in harmony and common purpose. Today, the proportion of student, faculty, staff, ethnic ratios are similar to those found in the population of the region the university principally serves. And remarkably, for a small regional university, SAU has the largest percentage of international students of any school in Arkansas. Only the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville equals SAU in its diversity. Both schools have 5% internationals among their students. Some 18% of SAU's faculty consist of minorities. SAU celebrates its diversity in many ways. Among the highlights of each year are the famous step shows that originated in African American Greek fraternities and sororities but are now participated in by all SAU social groups. And the International Banquet, in which food and music of SAU international students is shared. An example of celebrating diversity that I especially like is the flag display at McGill Library. There, the flags of more than 40 nations representing the students attending SAU fly in rotation proudly next to the flag of the United States of America. Oh, glory! The educational institution that you have now joined has a proud historical heritage, not least of which are the strong values and traditions passed from generation to generation of faculty and staff. Traditions of caring service to students and support of one another in that mission. Traditions of striving for excellence, demanding high achievement, not only of students but of ourselves. Encouraging large dreams and celebrating successes. And embracing our diversity and common humanity.